Good morning, everybody. Today, our lesson is all about the past perfect. Now, actually, we studied before. We studied the past simple and the past continuous. And today, we will study the past perfect. What do you mean by the past perfect? Listen. If we want to compare, past simple is an action, one action only happened and finished in a fixed point of time in the past. Now, the past continuous, an action which was continuous in a certain time in the past, or two actions, one was continuous when the other interrupted it. One was continuous when the other interrupted it. But here today, I have two actions which happened in the past. Both happened in the past and finished in the past. But one followed the other. One happened before the other. So, how can I know that this action happened first? And how can I know that this action happened later? It is the form of the verb. I use the past perfect, which consists of two parts. Had plus the past participle, verb 3, wrote, written, had written, had traveled, had run, had become, had swum, the third, the past participle or verb 3. So this is the past perfect, and we mean that it is the one which happened first. It is the past of the past. Both are past, but one happened before the other. So to distinguish it and to tell the reader or the listener that this one happened first, I use the past perfect. You see the example here. I had eaten my lunch, my breakfast before I went to school. How many actions do you have here? The first one, had eaten. The second one, went. So, which one happened first? Okay, I had eaten, had eaten, had eaten. Okay, the other one, it's past simple, went. Okay. And here are examples: had and past participle, had written, had swum, had played, had visited. Here's a diagram. You see, had received first and it hit next. You see the example, the Titanic, the big ship which sank in its first voyage on the sea. It's Titanic, you know her. The Titanic had received many warnings before it hit the iceberg. First, it received warnings, but they did not care, or I don't know, so it hit after receiving the warnings. After it had received warnings, it hit the iceberg. And another one, I had already eaten when my friend stopped by to visit. Okay, I had already eaten, past perfect, this one which happened first. Okay, so we talk about a past action that ended before the other action or time in the past. This is also another example. The film had started before we arrived, and here is the diagram. The film started at 8, for example, and we arrived at 8:15. So we arrived later. We arrived after the beginning. Okay. We also use the past perfect to show the cause of a past action. It's not only the time expression, which like before and after, but also we can use because to indicate an action that happened first. I was tired on Monday because I hadn't slept well the night before. So I don't use after or before as a conjunction. I know that at schools you focus on after and before, but here you see the meaning, and it depends on the meaning. I want to tell you the reason or the cause of not sleeping well. Okay. With time exceptions, we also use it not only with after and before, we use it with many time expressions such as when, after, before, as soon as one expression, hardly, space, when, by the time, by, until. All of these time phrases express arrangement of verbs which happened in the past, but one happened before the other. Look at this example. By the time I got home, by the time I got home, the verb got, past tense. My mother had already prepared dinner. My mother had already prepared dinner. Okay. Hardly, when, you see, we have this expression which always together, hardly, and there is some words, we'll explain it now, and it should be followed with when, the red words, hardly when. Hardly had I seen Sam, he started walking. Hardly had I seen Sam, I saw him first, then he started walking. But look at something, you have to pay attention to this point, that after hardly, we have the auxiliary verb had before the subject, not I had I. Hardly had I seen Sam when he started walking. You see, we call it subject verb inversion. Change of inversion means a change of the place. The auxiliary verb, the helping verb first, and the subject after it. Scarcely had Peter started the journey when it started raining. You see, also this expression, scarcely when, also a type of time conjunction which joins two past actions. And also we have subject verb inversion, had Peter, not Peter had Peter, the auxiliary verb, then the subject. The same, no sooner, in the same way we put the verb, the auxiliary verb before the subject. No sooner had the teacher entered the class than the student kept quiet. Okay. No sooner, ما كاد أن. This expression is in Arabic. ما كاد أن يدخل. ما كاد أن يدخل المعلم الفصل when the students kept quiet. Barely had Eric started the speech when Andrew started questioning. It's the same expression. Two actions, but the second one happened directly, no space of time. One followed each other's directly, no time space between. Hardly had the same, hardly like the one up, hardly had I seen the thief when he started running. Scarcely had Sam closed the door when the calling bell started ringing. And you see here between the two parts of these two sentences, we don't have any commas, okay? Also with until as a conjunction or time expression. I did not understand until you had explained. I can say it in another way. I hadn't understood until you explained. So first you explained, then first you had explained, then I understood. Okay, so here are examples that you have to do. Now look, here you have to do examples, use by the time. After by the time we had past simple, and the other one should be in the past perfect. By the time the police arrived, here, the police arrived, thief escaped. Yalla, make your sentence. By the time the police arrived, past simple. Okay. The thief had escaped, past perfect. So as soon as the thief had escaped, the police arrived. So the thief escaped first, then the police arrived later. Here are the conjugation of verbs. I had finished my work. I had stopped before you. You had stopped before me. Look at the yellow line or the yellow list. You have always the past perfect, and look at the green list. You have always the verb or the auxiliary verb had. And look at the question form. Had you arrived? Had they eaten dinner? Okay, so in the question, if you want to write a question or to say a question, you take the auxiliary verbs before. Okay.